ChatGPT, reviewing the intersection of AI, data science, and information literacy. And our presenter today is Denice Lewis, who is the Research and Instruction Librarian for Engineering and Science at Wake Forest University. And I'll hand it over to Denice now.
Thank you so much, Devin. You can go ahead and kick off the poll now. We'll start it from the beginning. So there's just a couple of questions I want to ask before we get started. Have you used ChatGPT before? Is the first question. And I'll give everyone a couple more seconds to answer that one. So we're split. Okay. 39% yes, 61% no. And actually, and the second question that I want to ask before I get started, what's your familiarity with artificial intelligence? Are you a novice, in between, or are you an expert? Talk to me. And I'll give you a couple of seconds before we continue on. All right, so mostly novices. All right, in between a couple of experts. Good. So as Devin mentioned, my name is Denice Lewis. To get us started. All right, so for today, I'm just going to cover real quick what is my why, then jump into defining the terminology, the difference, what is artificial intelligence, what is data science. In doing so, discuss real life examples of both, and then just touch upon the intersection of AI, data science, and information literacy, and demo a couple of different tools just to give you some ideas of what's out there and what you can use. So in terms of what is my why, just to let you know a little bit about me. My background, I like to say I'm a fourth career librarian. I am gratefully stealing that from Don Bearhart. No. I have a master's and a bachelor's in electrical engineering from Georgia Tech and associates in culinary arts from Lake Cordon Bleu, Scottsdale, and then a master's in library and information science from IUPUI. Most of my work experience prior in industry has been in software development, testing, training, support, and automation, as well as worked as a chef overseas in Germany. And then I was an adjunct instructor and tutor at IUPUI and Ivy Tech before becoming a librarian here at Wake Forest. But in terms of where I work, just to give you different ideas, I've worked in industry as well as in academia, did a brief stint at NASA, summer internships before I started at Georgia Tech. So in terms of my why, it all kicked off in fall of 2021 with a personal research session and planning for a class I was teaching in spring of 2022. First, there was a graduate student in physics that came over and was like, my professor gave me this paper and I'm supposed to find all the citations to this paper, but it's not in Web of Science. But then second of all, I went and looked at, before I went there. So one of the things when I started asking questions in terms of, okay, what are you going to use the data for? Are you going to extract the citations? Do you need to read any of the papers? Since he was unsure, I just generated a table with different places that he can find the citations, what the citation count was, and if there were an alert. And that's where I discovered scite.ai and got really interested in it. Then also that fall of 2021, I looked at the registration for Lib 290, information literacy for engineering that I was teaching in the spring, and 9 of the 11 students were graduating seniors. And I tend to teach based on the students that are sitting in front of me. So I did tweak in terms of how I was teaching the class to ensure that I covered not only subscription-based databases, but also those that were accessible free for students after they graduated, especially if they didn't live here in town. So in terms of defining the terminology, what is AI, artificial intelligence, and data science? So let's start off with artificial intelligence. There are a number of different definitions out there. I included 3 that I thought really gave you more of a feel of what artificial intelligence is about. And I don't want to read to you because I hate when people read to me. But I like to look at artificial intelligence as a way to emulate human consciousness, decision-making, problem-solving, utilizing computer programming, robotics, in a lot of different ways, and automation. So if we think about some different examples of AI, both from real life as well as in terms of librarianship, databases, and tools, the first thing I love is SOPHIA. I don't know if anyone saw this particular social robot was on Jimmy Fallon back in 2017. Hanson Robotics created SOPHIA, and I included a video that you can play on your own time after the presentation. But SOPHIA not only was able to carry along a conversation, was able to see and translate in terms of human expressions. So Jimmy actually was able just to have a really quick conversation with SOPHIA during the show. Another example of artificial intelligence is Amazon Go. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with that, but Amazon is the first cashless grocery store that Amazon had out in Seattle back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Individuals basically would just walk into the store, scan their Amazon Go smartphone app. There were cameras and sensors set up throughout the entire store to track what people were putting in their cart, taking out of their cart. And all you needed to do after you finished grocery shopping was just to pass through the gate and be charged for your purchases. There were only employees or people there in order to answer any questions or troubleshoot any problems. Open Knowledge Maps is a tool that I was playing with. It enables you to use either a Boolean search string or a search term to search for different scholarly research articles, and it separates both articles that are available open access and those that aren't. The really cool thing about Open Knowledge Maps is that it'll actually have different research areas of relevant content. So in this particular screen capture, the search was in parentheses, nuclear weapon, or in quotes, ballistic missile and early warning systems. So you can see it broke it down in terms of power reactors, cathodic protection systems, sacrificial node, machine learning, air insulated substations, general engineering, and so forth. And then had a quick visual to be able to designate if the article was open access or not via a lock. If the lock was open, it was open access. Closed, it was a subscription base or behind a paywall. Another example of artificial intelligence with regards to information literacy is iris.ai. All you would need to do with iris.ai is give it a URL, and it'll display a visual map broken down by topic of different scholarly articles in those particular maps. And the funny thing about this particular screen capture is that I actually had basically copied and pasted the iris URL into Iris, and it came back with scholarly articles on the actual application. So when we talk about data science, of course, I have this long definition, but think about data science as the integration of programming, mathematics, computer science, visualizations. There's so many different parts to data science that make up data science. There are people who focus on a piece or people that may focus on the whole. In terms of examples of data science, or before I even get there, this is a lovely topographic map that I love to actually show you the complexity of data science. Going from the fundamentals of data science over on the left-hand side with matrices, linear algebra, relational algebra, popping over to machine learning, visualizations, text mining, or data ingestion, as well as just the toolbox you use for data science and all of the different programming languages that are utilized. But in terms of examples, don't know about anyone else. I'm a penny pitcher. I love to know where's my money going. So there are those apps that actually you can integrate with your bank, your credit cards, that'll actually start tracking where your money's going, how's it being spent. Like I use Copilot as well as Mint, and Copilot alerted me that one of my banks had charged a monthly fee. So of course I did follow up with Chase regarding that. But Mint is another app that you use for financial analysis, basically accumulating all of your financial data and helping you to make better decisions about spending. In terms of data science, of course, being that we've moved from pandemic to endemic, is the COVID-19 dashboard that was created by Johns Hopkins University to show you not only the COVID infections, the deaths across globally, that you could then dig deeper into in terms of where you're located or where you're going. In terms of librarianship, scite.ai uses smart citations. The way the application works is they actually text mine all of the original articles and resources to pull out whether citations are occurring within the article. So, and then in above and beyond that, it's going to tag those citations as mentioning, supporting, or contrasting. Mentioning in the sense of someone saying, hey, there's this research by XYZ. Supporting, yes, we were able to replicate the results from such and such research. Contrasting, no, we don't agree with that at all. Not at all. But it enables you to dig a little bit deeper to really see an overview of what's going on in a particular research area and look at how a particular article may have influenced the research in that particular field. Then also there's lens.org. There was a really cool article that I read a while back that basically the title was from a saying that 80% of all technical information isn't found in scholarly articles, but biological sequences are one of those things that are found more in patents than they are in scholarly articles. So lens.org actually reviews the biological sequences that are disclosed in patents. That's one of the tools of using lens.org. But when we talk about the intersection of AI, data science, and information literacy, how are they all combining so that we know what's going on, where, when, and how, and there are decisions that can be made? There's a lot of, how do I want to say it? AI is integrated a lot in the Chinese society. So AI is integrated into the classroom. In this particular example, it's a middle school. They have brainwave sensors that they're wearing in the headband that you see in the video. They're GPS locators in their uniforms. And then the data analytics are displayed on the teacher's computer as well as in an app on the parent's phone. So it's a way of looking at when are the students, are they focused on their assignments? Have they utilized their phone? Where are they located within the building? But that's one necessary use of integrating everything all into one and in an applied fashion or way. So another integration of artificial intelligence, data science, or smart cities. Think about, and the two examples that I've included on this particular slide are Singapore and Dubai. So think about when you're in a city, being able to know where a parking lot, available parking spot is, and being able to pay for it all in a singular app, paying all of your utilities in a singular app versus going to multiple different websites or apps for your electric bill, your water bill, or your internet. With cameras and sensors being identified, someone who may have thrown their cigarette butt not in the trash and actually being fined for it. So utilizing facial recognition, as well as GPS data and other things. So when like Singapore is really known for its integration of artificial intelligence within the city, like 99% from start to finish of their city services are online. And Dubai is catching up. They're catching up. So in terms of librarianship, rather than me tell you, oh, look at these, I'm going to use the rest of the time that we have really to demo a couple of different tools, as well as to give you time to answer questions if you should have any. Going with the Walt Disney quote, the way to get started is to quit talking, just begin doing. But before we do that, buyer beware. Anytime you're using technology, especially whether it be ChatGPT or especially if you're using text generators where you're inputting information, because it can be utilized for a lot of different ways. You want to make sure that you're not sharing any sensitive, confidential, or top secret information. Samsung found out about that the hard way, where one of their engineers had uploaded proprietary code to, the word escapes me, to basically make it more efficient and effective. And then they realized that their proprietary code was all of a sudden in the machine. Another danger of AI, one of Gregory Hinton, who's referred to as the godfather of AI, actually quit Google just to be able to talk about possible issues with how text generators and other parts of AI, artificial intelligence, are utilized. So definitely make sure that you're using the right tool in the right way and the ethics behind it. So definitely get a demo scite.ai, ChatGPT, ResearchRabbit, and Elicit. A couple of tools that came out recently, like Google just released Bard last week. So I do want to touch on Perplexity as well as Google Bard. And then I do have my contact information and details in the slides that are available on the Sketch app. So definitely feel free to reach out if there are any additional questions that aren't answered this morning during the webinar. So let's get started. And let me make this larger. All right. So one of the things that I did that I definitely want to show everyone. So Scite actually started or basically added the functionality of Assistant, where you can ask a question and actually get an answer back or a summary, and then have the references listed for that particular summary. So the question that I asked is, what is data science? And it came back with data science is a field that involves the use of data, and basically shows you the inline reference. So I can go over here to the references and see where's that information coming from. As a librarian, we want to be able to track the information back to the original source. So that's one good thing with regards to utilizing scite.ai. Asking the same question of ChatGPT, what is data science? It literally gave the information back in a paragraph form, structured. The one thing you want to know about ChatGPT is that it's a text generator. A lot of it's the information that it's giving back to you in terms of answering questions are based on a language model. And looking at in OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, has sort of kind of been a little bit closed mouth with regards to the actual language generator that it's using. A lot of people have speculated that it's with information prior to 2021. If you think about like a lot of STEM information, technical information and data that's behind paywall, you can't necessarily say that it's trained on accurate data in every single instance. Text generators, ChatGPT, in terms of utilization, has been used to like, one of the things I'll do is create a syllabus. This course intersection. If you're an instructor, you can ask ChatGPT, for instance, to create a syllable for a course on the intersection of artificial intelligence, data science, and information literacy. In this case, gives us the course title, AI, Data Science, and Information Literacy, and Exploring the Intersection. Gives us a quick course description, course objectives, even goes into a course outline with module 1, etc. So you can see how it's generating that information. So if you're an instructor and you're stuck on, okay, how do I want to generate this course, or what content do I want to cover? It could be a quick way to get you started, but not something you necessarily want to just copy and paste and be like, this is okay. Because remember what I said, STEM information that isn't necessarily going to have the depth and the breadth per se. One of the problems that came up originally with ChatGPT, if I'm not mistaken, it's still problematic in ChatGPT 4, is the fact that resources that it may actually list are incorrect. Like if it gives you a citation, there have been several interlibrary loan groups across the US that have been given a handful of, I need all these citations, and they're like, what? I can't find these. And then they have to go back to the patron and ask, where'd you get these from? And you can even build on it. So that's a use as an instructor. If you had text that you wanted to copy and paste in to check for spelling and grammar, you could also utilize ChatGPT for that. There are people who have actually, there's an article that I was reading a little bit before where an individual had actually written a novel over a weekend using a text generator. So the key with ChatGPT is just to realize that You can even ask it, what can I use ChatGPT for? And it's thinking. But the funniest thing that I noticed is that there are the 2 screen captures that I had on the buyer searcher beware are warnings that have popped up on ChatGPT within the last month. Even this line at the bottom, free research preview may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts. And of course, now that I'm in the middle of a demo, it's like, nope, I'm not going to do it. So we shall move on. So elicit.org is one tool that I love using in terms of research, because you can ask it a question and it'll return the results of scholarly articles and other information, and even give you a summary. So in this particular case, I asked the same question: what is data science? There's an article, what is data science? What is data science fundamental concepts and heuristic example? And then if you look over at the abstract summary, it'll give you little blurbs from each of the references over on the left-hand side. If you wanted to, you could hover over and select brainstorm questions for what is data science. And it'll basically give you other research questions that you can ask about the same topic. So what is the definition of data science? What are the goals of data science? What are the methods of data science? What are the applications of data science? So you could change your research question and it'll give you references and resources, as well as give you the same abstract summary for that new research question. So here we have the applications of data science, application of data science in respective engineering domains. So again, and then even one over on the left-hand side, it gave us a summary of the top 4 papers. Collectively suggest that data science is a wide range of applications across various fields, including business, engineering, healthcare, and urban planning. So the cool thing about Elicit is that you're asking a question, it's giving you information from scholarly resources that you can then trace back to the original source with a brief blurb or summary. Research Rabbit is another way of generating resources that you're researching. You can create a collection over on the left-hand side. And from that collection, add papers to it and have it generate additional papers. So in this case, I can ask the same thing: what is data science? And we're going to search all subject areas. And all you need to do in order to is basically just go through and add the paper to the collection. So I'm just going to add a few. And that's it. So the cool thing about Research Rabbit is once you have those papers in the collection, it will show you similar works. In this case, we have 956 similar works. It'll show you a network that you can either change from the network to a timeline to be able to see in terms of when particular items were published. You can, the label is by first author, you can change it to last author, but think about going down the rabbit hole. That's really the idea behind Research Rabbit. So in this case, like if I was to click on data science, the sexiest job of the 21st century, over on the right-hand side, it'll give you, this is the paper. I can add it to the data science collection. I can look at similar works to this paper and look at all the citations. I can look at the authors of the paper, or even look at suggested authors just based on this particular paper. And it'll continue to open up additional windows over on the right-hand side. And over on the bottom, we can scroll back to our original collection to see it. So literally you can pull or get a lot of different references that you can then look up and see for a particular research topic. So if you have a PhD student, if you're getting your PhD, if you have a student writing a thesis for STEM or outside of STEM, any particular object, utilizing Research Rabbit is one of the suggestions that I would definitively make. But think of it as, how do I find additional? And also, if you wanted to help a particular researcher find collaborators, you can identify papers and then look at suggested authors or even these authors to look at additional collaborators for a particular research field or slice or area. Any questions thus far? All right, continuing on. So how does Scite work differently from large language models, text generators to provide actual references rather than generate inferencing plausible but might not actually be true? Scite pulls from a variety of different, and I'm gonna actually open up a new. Rather than pulling from a particular language model, Scite is actually pulling from the original text of the articles. So like if you go to, it's pulling from 180 million articles, book chapters, preprints, and data sets. And then there are different algorithms that are utilized in terms of how to present the information. But the Scite assistant actually is utilizing the ChatGPT API in order to write that little to help in writing the paragraph of information. But one of the things that you can do in Scite, like if I was to ask, let's data science. Outside of the assistant, Scite actually works where you can look at citation statements that include the particular text that you're looking for. So in this particular case, there's a review on artificial intelligence using data science. It's just, and basically what it's going to do is wherever those terms are found, it'll give you the sentence before, the sentence after, or just that sentence. You can also look for papers using Scite, either from just quick terminology. You can also search with Boolean logic. One of the things I love with citation statements is that you can click on analyze search results. And what it'll do is give you a high level summary of that particular question or topic. So there are 9,592 publications on this topic. This is the most highly cited. This is the most supported. And you can even dig down a little bit deeper. And it'll give you insights from the most recent papers. So say a text generator basically the purpose is to write on whatever topic or question you've asked about. Whereas Scite, the purpose is to research, either to find something to help you to solve a problem or give you a general overview with the Scite assistant. Did that answer that question? Excellentes. All right. Because even one of the things I've been playing with Research Rabbit is with the licit, you can export the results as a bib or CSV file. So I like to export the results as a bib file and then import it into Research Rabbit. When you go to like add papers, you can upload it via bib text file or RS file to generate those additional references. Moving on. But Perplexity AI is another text generator, but from a science perspective, one of the physics professors that I'm working with actually loves Perplexity. Like I've been throwing different tools and like, okay, well, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? I still love Perplexity. But the reason being is that it'll generate Perplexity. You can ask that question, what is data science? And it'll give you an explanation. But again, similar to Scite, that explanation will be tied back to inline references. So you can go back to see, okay, where are you getting this information from? So in this case, it's pulling from Wikipedia. It's pulling from Amazon. It's pulling from IBM. So it's pulling from different websites. Berkeley and Simply Learn. So from a STEM perspective, you're like, I want to know where'd you get that information from? And then once I find that information, it's like, do I, how? So I can decide, do I really trust what you're telling me? Now, Google Bart just came out, I'm saying a couple weeks ago, it wasn't last week, I think it was a week before that. And one of the neat things about BARD is it's going to give you more information. So I asked that same question, what is data science? So it actually broke it down and even sort of kind of formatted it in a way, not to say you can copy and paste information. No, we're not going to do that. But it breaks it down. But the problem, when I tested it before, it didn't have sources. Now all of a sudden it has the sources down below. Information about the sources. So even if you were like, wanted to, so does BARD give accurate and safe responses? It's letting you know it's experimentals. Some of the responses may be inaccurate. Double check the information in BARD's responses. It's getting better every day. I can truly say that because before that I tested it, it did not have any citations on it. So how and when does BARD cite source responses? So remember, most of your text generators are expected to generate original content and not replicate existing content. So it's not trying to summarize per se. It's actually trying to write it differently. And there are some really good tools out there to summarize summarize anything, like Scholar C is a paid subscription, but the browser extension is free. There's TLDR, if I'm mistaken, but there's like different browser extensions depending on the browser that you're using that'll summarize the website or article if you're reviewing it. Like even when I was researching, and there are other tools than these, than BARD, Scite, Research Rabbit, et cetera, et cetera. Like one of the things I did want to show, because while I was playing with, there's like Hey Pi that I was playing with just for the heck of it. And the funny thing is it's supposed to be an artificial intelligence tool that you can talk to. So being that I've read romance novels for decades, I was like, all right, let's go with a scenario. So all I asked with was, how do I break up with my boyfriend? We've been together for 3 years, but I don't see us moving to the next step. And it literally almost acted like a therapist, you know, that sounds tough. And I'm sorry you're going through that. What's not working in a relationship? What are the aspects of the relationship you feel lacking? We live in different states. Neither one of us is willing to move. And I want someone that's with me and ready to grow a family. He doesn't want kids for 5 years. And it literally sort of kind of helped to talk through, which is a little bit scary. I'm not gonna say. And the funniest things were comments from some of my friends, I have, Sheila's one of my friends that I work with when I worked at Intel. She's like, sounds caring, logical. But there are a number of other tools out there than even the ones that I mentioned. But one of the things that you always want to do as a consumer of information, databases and tools is validate, where's it getting the data or information from? If you can't track the sources, it's probably not something you want to use on a scholarly level, for lack of a better word or term or phrase. And then just to see is, how quick is it or easy is it to get up to speed? I'd like to see the rest of that cartoon. Which one? Oh, this one. Hold for one more page and roll over in the bended knee, elbow, resting chin pose. So basically working out with your book. I love finding memes, especially memes that relate back to librarianship or being but yeah, so looking at time, I just want to open up any questions that anyone has.
Hey, Denise, we have questions that came in throughout the session. So
okay.
One question is, what do you think the future of library/librarians is with AI? Do you think libraries will be fully self-service like Amazon Go?
Futures of libraries and librarians with AI, artificial intelligence is already integrated depending on what discovery interface that you have. Like we're using Primo, and there are some things that are happening behind the scenes with Primo just to help to find resources that way. In terms of how it'll change librarianship, I don't think it's going, until we get to the point where we have something similar to Jarvis from Iron Man. I don't see AI replacing librarianship, because as we all know, there's always going to be that one patron with that interesting question that's not going to be, you're not going to find that answer in a singular database. So like, even for me, when I find that there's someone that is like researching an esoteric topic or something that's not coming up with a lot of resources, I'll use inciteful.xyz. Because it's extremely powerful, and from one singular paper, it can generate and find other papers from that singular resource. So yeah, until Jarvis comes out, no. So libraries won't be fully searched like Amazon Go, no. There are still way too many people who love print material and who love talking with the librarian. Like we have, if I think about the times I've spent in, I work at an academic library, but the times that I spent in a public library, like I did when I got my MLIS, I sat at the reference desk at a public library, and there were people coming in to ask questions. You could tell someone retired and just wanted to talk, or there are people who are retired trying out new hobbies and want to bounce some ideas off an individual. So until you have something like that can do it in a variety of different fields, categories, really until open access becomes a true reality, as long as you have a lot of information behind a paywall, a text or language generator is not going to be able to get to that. The reason why Scite really works is because it's a small company. They work really hard to get agreements with publishers. Like they have an agreement to basically analyze or input all the articles from Nature and from different publishers, and they're continuing to do that. So unless you're working with the actual text, like there was another article that compared the results that you're able to get just looking at abstracts versus the full text, it's really different. So open access really truly needs to be open access for everything. Oh, of course, students are going to come to abuse their power. There are actual tools to allow you to see if there are any text that's been generated using a text generator. Like ChatGPT has a tool that you can utilize, and then there are other ones out there as well. So just as quickly as you have like the text generators popping out, there are people making tools to catch it.
Denice, we have a question from Maria asking, do you teach how to use this in the classroom? Are professors okay with that?
Well, ChatGPT came out after I was teaching. It feels like I teach every 2 years, an actual class. I do one-shots every semester. But here at Wake Forest, our Center for Advancement of Teaching, our director, Betsy, has really been gung-ho about getting everyone on board with what ChatGPT is and how can you use it and how it can be used. There are even some instructors here at Wake Forest that are utilizing it for critical thinking. There's one physics professor that has his students actually ask GPT physics questions and then compare what it says, and then finding relevant citations and actual scholarly articles to either support it or dispute it. And students are finding, especially in STEM, it's like, GPT isn't really giving me good answers. So it's a matter of, teaching students how to utilize it responsibly and giving them those examples of this is not something you can totally depend upon. But now the funniest thing is there was another instructor, an English instructor, who had students to, basically input their essays into ChatGPT and have them, help them to improve in terms of flow, grammar, spelling, things of that nature. But that's where you have to teach students how to use the tool appropriately. Just like with a calculator, me being that math is one of those things I love. I really want people to hold off on using a calculator as long as possible, just to make sure that they can actually compute something quickly and efficiently. So that's the same thing with any of these tools, is teaching the students how to write an essay before you show them how to utilize ChatGPT, so that they can develop those, baseline skills.
We have a clarifying question from Leslie saying, which of the AIs that you demoed are free versus paid?
All the ones I demoed are free except for Scite. Scite is actually fee-based. You can get it as an individual institution. So like we actually trialed Scite. The years are starting to run together. Spring of 2022, we ended up adopting it for a year. And now after the utilization that we're having, we're planning on adopting it and keeping it here at Wake. But you can get a subscription. But the one thing about Scite is free is that you can, the Scite browser extension is free and you can utilize that. But everything else is free. But you do have to, the key thing to note, like for ChatGPT, in order to get an account on OpenAI, you have to provide an actual cell phone number and create an account. I tried to use like a Google Voice number, and it was like, nope, we need an actual cell phone number. And then you do have to create an account for Elicit, but it's free, as well as Research Rabbit. Perplexity, you don't need to include an account for. And Bard, you cannot use, like I have Wake Forest uses G Suite, but I can't use my Wake Forest Gmail account for Barb, but I can use my personal Gmail account for Barb. So that's one thing just to be aware of. So most of the AI tools now are free. You just need to either create an account for or be able to use. And there's a few out there that are for that are fee-based. But usually it's either a small fee for an individual or a fee for a company or, an academic, a university or college. In terms of list of AI resources, I actually have don't talk about me in terms of how I find this usually. There's a research guide that I created for a conference that I did last year, that I started a list of cool tools, and this is probably where I'm going to update it. So I'll include that. In the chat. Like Vivaldi as a browser, oh my God. Okay, I do have friends that are hackers. Don't talk about me. So I asked one of my friends, my hacker friends, I was like, okay, what browser would you recommend? And she recommended Vivaldi, because the CEO of Vivaldi, I guess, used to work with Opera, but now you know. But here's what I mentioned with the browser extension. So Scholar C is a browser extension for Google Chrome, Vivaldi, and Edge. And Vivaldi, you can actually use any Google Chrome, any Chrome browser extensions on Vivaldi. Summary, paywall, site, inciteful. So I tried to give a table that included what the database or tool was, what you can use it for, and where you can find additional training. Because there's some that all you need getting started is very direct. And there are others that is like, look, if you really want to use this, you need to spend some time playing with it. So Research Rabbit is the only one that I haven't been able, well, that is up then. I need to go back and fill in the blanks for some of these. 2D search is way cool. I will say that, as well as LitMaps. But yeah. Any other questions? Cool. So remember, there are new tools that are basically coming out literally like, it seems like every month. A couple of ways that I, find out new tools is just to do quick searches, or if you find something that you really like, you can of course do the Google search related. So like, let me grab. I'm mistaken, it's related. Yeah, it is. You can go related and you can find like, here's scite.ai competitors, best scite AI alternatives competitors, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, you're totally welcome, Pam, Dawn. Because we have 15 more minutes, right,
We
Devin?
do. We have some more time. Folks, I'm just adding to the chat our August 1st panel that we are co-hosting with Acerol, Skelk, and Lewis, which are some partner consortia that we have around the United States. And that will be covering AI in higher education and specifically academic libraries. We have some panelists from American University, UNC Chapel Hill, Baton Rouge Community College, and the Alder Graduate School of Education in California, talking about how ChatGPT is one of many tools and how these tools can be put in context. And that, I think, is something that Denice very much conveyed in this talk, is how to make sense of them, how students and faculty can become more knowledgeable instead of afraid.
Yeah, because I mean, I found the other thing, let me stop and rewind, because sometimes the brain will glitch, because I think 200 miles an hour can only speak like 60 to 80. So like I decided, I think was it spring of 2021, in terms of what my social media would be. So like, there's Twitter, which I've totally removed all identifiable information, but there's a number of people who actually on Twitter who test and go out and find new AI tools that I follow. LinkedIn, there isn't anyone I follow per se, but then on Facebook, I have a lot of I won't say my old Georgia Tech colleagues, my people who I went to Georgia Tech with. It's so funny that we're all in different areas. Like Kelvin's a STEM teacher at a charter school. Denice is over a technology program for a school in Boston. Brian is over, he's the president of Georgia State, I think. But everybody's doing different things. So like Kelvin will post something and I'll be like, okay, did you look at this? Because Kelvin had mentioned even there was a tool that would generate poems that he used to generate a rap song about STEM. That's like, oh my God, that is too funny. But the most interesting thing is someone said, almost everything from the Jetsons is real except for flying cars. And I had to, come in and say, well, flying cars are being tested right now. And there's some prototypes that'll probably be out by 2024. So when you go back and you look at some of your sci-fi and your fantasy novels of old, there are a number of the technology that were discussed, taught, mentioned, or shown that are truly indeed a reality. There are people that are afraid of Skynet from Terminator being reality, because I was just reading the American Society for Engineering Education has a daily, if you remember, has like a daily email that goes out every day that covers engineering from a variety of different perspectives, from policy to technology to education, et cetera, et cetera. And some of the laws that are trying to be enacted to catch up to artificial intelligence, especially the text generators that are out now, a lot of the discussion is so partisan. It's like, I want this, I want this. It's like, look, whereas overseas in different countries, they've already started implementing different things. But then you look at China, who is trying to integrate artificial intelligence in everything. Like there's, what is it called? There's like there's a social credit system that was basically, it's not utilized everywhere in China right now, but just somewhere. No. Yes, I'm that person who will go through and say no. But it basically tracks like people in terms of their Are you paying your bills on time? Are you late? Are you in debt? You're driving, and give you like a social credit score. So AI is being utilized in a lot of different ways globally, more ways than I think people realize. Some of the pieces are, I mean, think about at home, if you have Alexa, what are some of the other, there's Alexa, I forget all the names of different apps that you can have in your home and ask questions like play music. You have artificial intelligence in your home. And even the funniest thing is about PowerPoint has a designer where if you're unsure of how you want to design a slide, I'm just going to move it over so y'all can see. PowerPoint has designer where it'll show you different, not, of course, not for that one. Okay, fine, I will go to a different one. It'll show you different ways that you can organize the slide, different colorations and things of that nature. So artificial intelligence is being integrated almost in everything that we do, in some cases knowingly and in some cases unknowingly.
We have a quick question here about whether NC Live will have links to some of these tools on their site. I think that's probably might be a little bit out of scope, but on our annual conference page, we have uploaded Denice's slides through Sched. And so you can access those there. I can also add a link to Denice's LibGuide so that you all can check that out and see what tools are being added in the coming